Hey, deserving listeners, 90 Day Fiancé, happily ever after. Let's watch. I'm going to react.
What does romance mean to you?
It means healthy couple. Work together, not fighting, not be having issue.
Romance for me is different. Like, I don't feel like we have any super loving feelings with each other.
Okay, so this is a great conversation to have. She is talking about what kind of relationship she wants. She wants romance, and she is defining it for him. It sounds like for him, either he doesn't understand exactly what she's getting at, or he literally just defines romance or a good marriage in a different way, which of course makes sense given that he's from a different culture. It's a bit of a surprise to me on this show that some of these people find it surprising when they marry someone from a completely different culture on the other side of the planet, and they happen to have different values and different expectations for what a marriage should be. So maybe that's their problem. For him, marriage is one thing, and for her, marriage is another thing. So maybe this conversation will help clarify that. Or she'll be able to tell him, look, I want more romance. I want more togetherness. I want more love and warmth and mutual respect and a best friend. I don't know if that's what she'll say, but let's watch.
My pleasure.
Yeah, your pleasure, exactly. I think we could use help with sex.
Okay.
Have you heard of like role playing or?
What's that?
It's like when you pretend to be other people.
So I'm a bit confused as to why she is having this conversation instead of, and maybe this is a core issue for her, but it didn't sound like it from previous conversations that she's had with her sister and others. I would have thought that she would want to talk more about the fundamental love and respect that exists between the two of them, rather than prioritizing spicing up the bedroom a little bit. But, what do I know?
Kind of is like, meh. Anyway, so we might as well just find something that makes it a little more fun.
No.
So if she wants to role play, that is totally fine. But the way she just said that, it sounds like she doesn't feel like she likes their sexual life. She doesn't like the way that they have sex or something. And she is looking for a way to make it better for her, which is quite common. It's really unusual that, especially long-term relationships, that people just naturally know how to please each other. There usually has to be some communication, right? And we could imagine these two have not really had a lot of in-depth, vulnerable conversations about their preferences in this arena. So I wonder if for Kalani that she feels, one, like she doesn't love him anymore, two, that she isn't enjoying their sexual life. And her solution to that, she doesn't really know the solution. She doesn't know where to begin. I don't know, but it's possible that she doesn't know, or she's afraid of even talking about the relationship. So now she's talking about role playing instead, because that's an easier topic to talk about. And if she were to go to therapy and maybe really investigate the sexual topic, perhaps she would discover, oh, okay, I don't know if I've ever really explored sex with another person in a way that really got to know who I was as a sexual human being, got to know how to interface with someone else and explore things. And so I think I need to start from the beginning. It wouldn't be unusual. A lot of people, because we live in such a sex-negative culture, that a lot of people have extremely limited understandings of themselves sexually. And so it's possible that she is one of those people, I don't know, and she's just throwing darts at the wall, like, well, maybe if we role play, it'll feel better to me. Or maybe she really knows that about herself, and she's actually asserting that. I don't know.
Whatever.
That's not what it is.
What
it's
is
just
that?
it's like dressing up as different people, like, oh, the secretary and the boss, or like go back to where we first started, where you're like the kayak boy.
Oh,
I'm the older, more mature lady on vacation.
That makes sense. Now you're going to be like ourselves.
Okay. So maybe that's what she's trying to get at, is maybe if we get out of our humdrum lives that have become so boring and contentious, if we could actually role play the way we were at the beginning, it'll feel the same way, which, stands to reason it's possible. But I wouldn't imagine it would solve all of the problems, though.
Makes sex more fun. So they have like vibratey things or like fake penises or fake vaginas.
I'm not putting my ding dong inside that thing. I just say my ding dong for yours. That's all.
Okay. I'm just saying, keep it open.
So overall, wonderful conversation that often doesn't happen on this show. So they are modeling to be playful, to explore, to say, how about we try this? Let's try this. And they're having those conversations, and that's wonderful. So I don't have anything negative to say about the overall gist of this conversation. It's a wonderful time to explore. They're not yelling at each other. They're not shaming each other. I think he's a little resistant. I think he could say, oh, okay, well, is that what you want to do, honey? So I think he could participate more and be more open. Maybe even say something like, do you like having sex with me? Because I like having sex with you, but it kind of sounds like you're not enjoying our sex. Is there something you want me to do? So he could add that, which would be a wonderful thing for him to say. But overall, a good conversation.
Sex like a normal people. But maybe I will try to use this choice. Maybe it will help our relationship, our sex lives.
I think we have neglected our marriage, and sex is like an important part of marriage, but if you don't have the love or anything like that, then it's weird for me.
Right. That's what I thought they were going to talk about was, do we love each other? Or this is how I want you to be so that I can love you. Or this is how I want to be loved. I thought, I think that is much more fundamental to the problems at this point.
So we need to do things that make us both happy and do things to make us feel like we love each other.
And having wonderful bonding sex can facilitate that for sure. And for some people, that is a major part of the foundation of the love between two people. But I think their problems run more deeper than that, or in other realms, like when he lies to her, when he isn't present in the parenting of the kids and that kind of thing. I think that's more fundamental to their relationship.
She's probably tired. I should bring her this, or
I did. I bring you pizza.
you do bring me pizza sometimes.
Why didn't mention that?
My brother also brings me food sometimes too.
So we're not talking about your brother.
Yeah, but I'm saying, I think your definition of romance and love is different than my definition.
Right. So that doesn't mean either definition is right or wrong. It just means that they have different expectations. I don't know. And for you who know Samoan culture, let me know in the comments below, because I'm always interested in that. Do you think that for Asuelu, for a typical male in Samoa, that the American mainstream idea of romance between husband and wife is very different in that culture? I don't know. I think some of you have commented a little bit on that, but I'd be curious on that specific question, because this is a wonderful conversation for them to have. Now, I'm worried that for Kalani, she will say, well, my version of romance is right and yours is wrong, instead of saying, I wonder if I married someone that just has a completely different idea about what romance is. Now, that doesn't mean you can't negotiate or accommodate each other or change, but it does mean that you can't just say there's something defective with my husband because he comes from a different culture that has a different idea.
Say, oh, my brother bring you food. I'm not talking about your brother bring you food. If we talk about you and me and talk about brother, that's so annoying. You need to work on how you can talk to me.
So I think Asuelu is hurt right now, and he is resorting to his way of communicating that, which is to give her the cold shoulder and to start swearing and being sort of conflictual or confrontational with her. I think what he's hurt about is that she is talking to him throughout this whole conversation, essentially with a lot of different messages of, I don't really like how our marriage is going. I don't like the way it's going romance-wise. I don't like the way it's going sexual-wise. And I think he has a really hard time dealing with that, given his insecurities. And instead of just sitting in the space of being like, okay, so what I'm hearing from you is you don't really like our marriage that much. And by extension, you don't like me. You don't like the way I am as a husband very much. You don't like the way I am sexually. You don't like the way that I am romantically, or you wish it were different. That's really hard for me to hear. That's rough to have my wife, whom I love, who I feel satisfied with, is just overall dissatisfied with me. I don't know what to do about that. Maybe I need to learn things, or I don't know. I feel like I'm trying something. That'd be a tough thing to hear, and that's okay. But what do you do with it? Do you have the differentiation, the maturity, the secure attachments to stand on a foundation and say what I just said earlier, or do you do this?
I bring you food.
Yes, but we're not talking about bringing food, Asuelu.
Yeah,
We're talking.
it's like showing love. You didn't ask and just bring it.
That's not romance. That's what I'm saying.
I don't know why we talk about your brother though. Oh, my brother bring me food.
So he is focusing, and I've seen people do this in arguments. They focus in on this one detail instead of taking a beat and saying, okay, what's going on with me right now? I think I'm really hurt. But instead of doing that, he's really focused on, why are we talking about your brother? Well, she brought up her brother because she said she wanted more romance and more love. And he says, well, I bring you food sometimes as a gesture, and that's great. And she says, yeah, you do. You brought me pizza, but my brother brought me pizza. So I think her point was that, I appreciate when people bring me food. It's great. You bring me food, and my brother brings me food, but I want something more. I like that, but I want something. That's not the range. That's not the full range of what I would hope our romantic, deep love to be. Just you bringing me food every once in a while. I want more than that. That's good, and thank you for that. It's a nice gesture. So maybe if she said something like that, it would have helped. But instead, all she said was, well, my brother brings me food. And I think he was confused by that. I don't think he understands really what she's trying to say. And then he gets hurt, and he starts saying kind of random things where he's really focusing on the brother. She gets upset. I don't think they just have a strong foundation to stand on to withstand these kinds of conversations. So when one thing goes wrong, then they start to escalate and it becomes conflictual. I'm really worried about these two. They've had some really awful conflicts in the past, and it looks like it's heading in that direction again. Hey, deserving listeners, as you all know, I am constantly recommending that people go to therapy. We all need therapy from time to time. Well, one of the options available that is definitely worth checking out is BetterHelp. If you're looking for a therapist, I would give it a try by going to betterhelp.com/Kirk. Make sure you use the promo code Kirk because you get 10% off your first month, and it really helps us out. As you watch these videos, I know many of you have been motivated to find your own therapist, which is great because you deserve it. And I know also that it can be hard to find a good fit, find the right one for you. Well, one of the options available in terms of your shopping is to go to betterhelp.com/Kirk. I've been told you can start communicating with your therapist in under 24 hours. You can message your counselor at any time. Plus, you can schedule weekly video or phone sessions. I've also been told that it's often less expensive than in-person therapy, and you should know that this service is available to clients worldwide. So go to betterhelp.com/Kirk to get 10% off your first month today.
I feel like this was the perfect example of how our relationship goes. We're really good and we're having fun, and then the littlest thing can set him off, and it's usually the dumbest thing. I can't ever really tell him my real feelings or try to tell him what I think we should fix because...
Yeah, and I think he feels similarly. I think he probably would say, I don't know what happened there. We were having a good time, and then all of a sudden she just started hammering me about X, Y, and Z and bringing up her brother, and I get this kind of criticism all the time, and I just don't want to hear it anymore, and I don't know what to do about it. So I think it's very common for people to come from very reasonable places and have very, very entrenched conflicts where they both feel the other person is completely out of line and they themselves are completely okay.
He takes offense to everything. It wasn't anything to get that upset over. Like, the whole thing is just crazy. It's just psychotic.
And that's the way it often feels. I've worked with a lot of couples in various different phases of divorce as well, going through divorces together. I've worked with couples and individual clients. And it is one of the most, intense distortions that you'll ever have. You'll go from being in love with someone at the beginning of your marriage, and you think the world of them. They're just like your favorite person on the planet. And then you're going through a breakup, and you just think that person is the worst person on the planet. I don't understand how anyone could ever like that person. Now, it doesn't always happen this way, but it's not uncommon to have these kinds of thoughts. Well, which one is it? Are they the best person in the world, or are they the worst person in the world? Well, it's because of our emotions and the way that we look at people through our lenses. And for her, and I think for him, because they don't really interview him very often, the emotions have become so negative, and the feelings and the resentments have built up to such an extent that when these little things happen, it's not like, I wonder what happened there, or I wonder if I worded something wrong, or I wonder if he's in a bad mood today, or I wonder, having some charity, giving someone some grace. Instead, she just literally said he's crazy and psychotic.
There's nothing you cry.
I can cry if I want to cry. Those are my feelings. Can I just have my feelings and
Nothing you
say my
cry
freaking
about.
feelings?
So annoying.
I'm annoying because I'm crying.
There's nothing you can cry about.
Normal people cry when they're upset. They don't bottle in and then blow up on people. That's abnormal. Crying is normal. Blowing up on...
Crying is normal. And some people have a really hard time when their partners will cry because it implies they've done something wrong and they don't know what to do with that. And I think that's where he's coming from. A lot of people come from this place of when your partner starts to cry, you instantly think, oh, I did that to that person. But I didn't do anything wrong, because of that defensiveness. And so that person is psychotic and crazy. They need to stop crying. They're crying to manipulate me, or they cry too easily. And that's where all that, this sort of attitude comes from. Instead of just saying, oh, okay, well, she's crying and maybe I'm to blame, maybe I'm not, I don't know. But people cry, it's fine. Because it's fine. Crying is normal. More people should be crying all the time, honestly. The analogous emotion that I think about is laughter. When something's funny, you laugh. You're talking with a friend, they tell a funny story, or even just you're talking with the cashier at the grocery store and you're just having a moment, you just laugh. You're like, it's for levity, it's to make things more comfortable for everyone. We laugh. It's sometimes an involuntary laugh, sometimes it's a voluntary laugh. Well, the same goes for crying. When you feel sad, or even when you feel joy or just tension, you tear up a little bit or a lot. That is normal. In the same way that laughing is normal, crying is normal. But of course, our society does not see it that way. And we beat this into everyone, particularly kids, so that they never cry, particularly boys.
Okay. It makes me upset because whenever we talk about big issue, Kalani always bring up her family. I think it's not fair because Kalani tells me what she wants.
Okay, I didn't think of that, but that, of course, makes sense, given all the conflicts that they've had, that when she brought up her brother, it was a threat to him because he feels like, I'm guessing, he's always being compared to the family or something. And I think just the fact that she mentioned the brother was a trigger for him, regardless of the content. So I think that's what's happening.
And I express my feelings to how I feel, and she start crying. So she not listened what's my point and what I'm trying to say.
But you didn't communicate what you were trying to say very well. You just said, why did you bring up your brother? We were talking about these other things, and so people often say that in life and on this show. I was just telling her how I felt. Usually whenever people say that on this show, it's not true. They were not telling the other person how they felt. They were bringing up points to be defensive or to attack the other person or to shut someone else down, which is what he was doing. If he was to say how he felt, he would say something like, so when you just brought up your brother, I feel hurt by that because I feel like they're always in our business, or I'm always being compared to them and I can never live up to them. And maybe that's justified, I don't know. But can we just leave your family out of this conversation for a second? Because I just want this to be just between you and me. Something like that. And when you do bring up your brother, it makes me feel sad, or it makes me feel hurt, or it makes me feel threatened or something. That would be telling someone how you feel. What he did didn't appear to me to be telling her how he felt.
It's good to see you again. Missed this version of you.
Now you try to piss me off. Why you do this kind of stuff?
Okay, not okay, not okay. Now, she didn't say something great, but they were both escalating the conflict, and then she said something sarcastic, which isn't a good move. But then he says, I'm angry, suddenly gets up, stands over her. Not okay. This is abusive behavior. It's not okay.
You're literally making fun of me for crying and saying I have no reason to cry.
Because it's not make sense.
What doesn't make sense?
I didn't say anything to hurt you.
You think that you didn't say anything to hurt my feelings. This whole situation is upsetting to me.
Okay. So he sat back down, thank goodness. And now they're kind of communicating again. So he said more directly, I don't understand why you're crying, because I didn't do anything to be hurtful to you. That's how his perspective is. That's a very frequent, common perspective in someone in his position. And she says, you don't think you did anything to hurt me, but you did do something to hurt me. Now maybe she can articulate that to him and he can understand it and learn. Let's see what happens here.
Not being able to come to you and have a conversation and have a normal conversation where you say, okay, yeah, let's move on.
Okay.
I can't do that with you.
I don't know how to fix this kind of stuff then.
Okay, good. I thought it was going to be a massive train wreck, but they're back into his own. She communicated it well. I want to have a nice conversation where we just say, hey, let's try this. And then you say, okay. And then we just try it and then everything will be fine. Now, I don't think that is exactly what happened. I think for him, he was hearing an escalation of criticism to him. She wasn't, I think, being extremely critical, but I think the message was, I don't like the way you are as a husband. And he should be able to withstand that in a more mature way. So I think there was some criticism there. I think it's justified. I think she has every right to say, I don't like this. I don't like the way things are going. I don't like our romance. I don't like our sexual life. But I think he gets hurt by that, which is normal. He didn't react well. He didn't react terribly. But anyway, they brought it back down, and then he says, I don't know how to fix things, essentially. I don't know what to do. That's great. It's a wonderful place to start. Advice to people out there, do what Asuelu just did. There's so many instances when you're in a conflict with your partner, and out of confusion, we will scramble to have a solution, or we'll try to shut the other person down or manage everything and dominate, instead of just going, I feel powerless. I don't know what to do here. You're complaining about me and I don't know what to do. That's a better place to, because that's true. That's a better place to be than trying to shut someone else down or solve problems that maybe are more complicated. Just say, you know what? I don't know what to do right now. And Asuelu just did it, which is a good start.
I feel like I, yet again, fooled myself into thinking that this marriage was on the right track and that Asuelu was finally going to change. But of course I was wrong and the whole thing just collapsed again. If this is who he really is, I don't see us buying a house together, and quite frankly, I don't really see a relationship with us in the future.
Yeah. She's been saying this for more than one season, that she doesn't want to be in a relationship with him. So until they have a massive change and a consistent change in their relationship, I can't imagine that attitude changing for her. And I wonder if he has a similar attitude. I wouldn't be surprised, given his behavior. All right, well, that does it for that episode. If you didn't know, we have a Discord and a Facebook fan page and an official Facebook page and an Instagram and a subreddit that you can join and be a part of the conversation if you want. And everyone out there, please take care of yourself because you deserve it. You really, really do.